thank you all for joining us for what is now going to be episode number 19 of Mantell Associates Network. I am joined today by David Enloe, who is the president and CEO of Recro, who are doing amazing things out in the US at the moment. Recro are a full-service CDMO. So, David, thank you so much for coming on to Mantell Associates Network. Absolute pleasure. And what I'd love to do is kind of get straight into it with you. And for someone like yourself, I know you joined Recro not too long ago after leaving Ajinomoto as a president and CEO there. And I mean, someone like yourself, you've got a huge amount which is going on, everything which is going on in life, in home, in work, in a new position. What's your average day looking like at the moment? How are you finding everything? How are you balancing everything?
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, this should be interesting to me to have this kind of conversation. I mean, for me, the last year and a half, really, but year has been quite a whirlwind because really, frankly, COVID. And I was in Tokyo. My wife and I were in Tokyo, where I was running Ajinomoto Bio-Pharma services after merging together several of the Ajinomoto companies into a single CDMO. I began to miss being able to be part of a smaller, very agile organization, and so COVID accelerated my return to the U.S. and quite frankly, my transition to Recro. My average day, as a result of all of that, is very different. I mean, first of all, I'm on the West Coast of the U.S. in San Diego, and I'm the CEO of a company whose principal operations are a few thousand miles away outside of Atlanta. And our financial team is outside of Philadelphia. Our marketing person's in New York, and I could go on, but I think you understand the point there. And so the day looks a lot like it looks right now, Alessandro, which is, looking square into the face of a little high def camera from morning to night. I've tried personally, though, just like a lot of people, to create some space at our house that is exercise space and allows us to do things that we should have done more often anyway. And I spent the money on a SoulCycle bike. There's my commercial. And I ride it pretty religiously with our adult daughter's high approval rating of me doing that. And the other thing that I've done to balance myself, and this might sound crazy for anybody who's known me, but I've started to engage in the exercise of mindfulness, and quite devoted to that at this point, in terms of just letting things slow down and get myself back to the present, and that's been really become an important part of my life as well.
Absolutely love it. I've spoken to so many people recently. Touching on the mindfulness part, people who have got more into meditation, more into psychology, more into looking after their body, more into exercise as a result of COVID, because you realize just how much everyone misses human interaction. And just like you said, we're looking down at each other through a screen, and you're running a company through a screen, which would have been unthinkable just over a year ago. But thank you so much for going into all of that. And I guess something else which has changed since you've joined Recro even more is that the COVID-19 pandemic has really kind of shined a bright light on the importance of CDMOs. I've seen so many articles, left, right, center. CDMO was kind of, to people outside of pharma, more unknown, and the kind of spotlight has been put onto it. In all of that, it's also increased demand for service providers such as CDMOs in the space. What are Recro doing in order to kind of utilize all of that and grow its business and take advantage of all of what's going on?
Well, good question. I think we have to all understand the importance of those words that used to be kind of the rote, boring procurement kind of words, and embrace the importance of supply chain and supply chain expertise, supply chain best practices. And, fortunately, and part of what attracted me to Recro, quite frankly, is that we're, for the first time, my arrival, not because it's me, but because of the change in the way the company is formed now, for the first time is a top to bottom, externally facing CDMO business only. Like I try to say to anybody who will listen, we're a CDMO for the express purpose of becoming an excellent CDMO. There were other missions and purposes of the operation before, in terms of generating free cash to pay for a drug pipeline development, and that's not true anymore. So, but one of the attractive parts to me is that externally facing, almost startup, or certainly restartup, is on the bedrock of almost 40 years of commercial manufacturing and supply chain experience, supplying large pharma companies with important drugs to their supply chain. So what we've been doing is really leaning into that, and just like this is, I think, my 5th CDMO. Every one of them has faced challenges around concentration of projects or customer concentrations or dependencies, and it wants to have more of a diversified portfolio. Recro is no different. Its legacy has led it to being heavily dependent on a few projects, and so we're really focusing on diversifying that, and have seen great success in bringing forth growing the business in the earlier stage, non-commercial programs where there's more innovation, more partnering, and I really like what I've seen there, and we look to continue to do that as we diversify our portfolio.
Incredible news, and I'm not just saying this just because you're on the podcast now and you're working at Recro as president and CEO, but speaking openly, I've been in the CDMO space for 4.5 years now, and the past, I would say, 12 months, I've heard more and more about the work that's going on at Recro. I know that Mantell Associates have partnered with you guys as well in areas, but I mean, it has been hugely exciting what is going on in the business at the moment. And I guess being a leader like you are in the CDMO and manufacturing space as a whole, how have you kind of adapted to everything? I know you touched on the mindfulness stuff, but managing the organization remotely, having the family, having all of the leadership responsibilities as well. How have you done that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the juiciest reminders to me that I've been given is that somebody told me once that the CEO ought to be the CRO, which is Chief Reminding Officer. And so it really is about centering people around a common cause, around a common vision. By the way, last week, our leadership team was able to, because we were all vaccinated, we were able to get in the same room, spaced out.
Amazing.
2 days of the dreaded offsite, but it was very productive. And we reoriented ourselves towards what is this company's mission? What is our vision? All of that sounds very esoteric and fluffy, but if we're going to galvanize a few hundred people towards a common goal, we have to be able to, and quite frankly, my role has to be able to articulate that up and down the line over and over and over. And, when you think you've said it enough, and when people start to roll their eyes like, oh God, here he goes again, that's my sign that I need to do it about 5 more times. And so our new vision is to become a premier trusted CDMO by bringing tailored solutions to our clients and affording our people engaging and rewarding careers. And so, that's going to start getting rolled out. And let me just say this too. During the pandemic, we have to realize that each individual's situation is different and unique. I can't take the experience I have as a leader and my response to the pandemic and force that down to a colleague, a coworker's lifestyle. That person may live with a diabetic partner, with a grandmother, so on and so forth. And so we have to really double down on our empathy and our understanding, all while making sure we can keep our promises to our customers. And to say that is easy is dishonest, but it's very doable, and we did it.
Mm-hmm. And that is something that is so hard to get right. I'm not sitting where you are right now, but to get the empathy right of not only having to manage patients, because you are saving lives in the work that you guys are doing, but having to also manage the team that you've got, the employees that you've got, and getting the empathy right along with vision. Super, super hard. But I guess that's probably one of the things that differentiates Recro as an organization. What else would you say makes you guys stand out as a CDMO?
Well, I mean, what's happened is there's been so much accumulation and rolling up of CDMO organizations, and the demand is historically high. That and then let me just add one more variable. Then you look at where all the financings have occurred. They've occurred in small to mid-size biopharma companies with early stage pipelines. All right. And so those companies are the ones that need to form relationships with people with expertise in process development, innovation, scale up, regulatory support, commercial manufacturing. And I mean, let's face it, the big companies right now have filled their plants with large, repeat, robust programs. And so there's a big void, and there's a place in the world for innovative companies that have recently raised money over the past 3 or 4 years. They need a place where they can be in contact up and down an organization, which is why we use the word in our vision of bringing a tailored solution. We need to, and we are. I mean, we're able to have multiple points of contact up and down that organization between me and others and our client CEOs, all the way down to program managers and shop floor to program managers with our clients. And that's not a normal experience that you're going to get from a large CDMO. So there is definitely opportunity for us to provide a much more of a high touch, almost a white glove type service to partner with. And I call it the dirty V word, vendor. We don't want to be a vendor. All right. And we don't want to measure our success purchase order by purchase order. We want to measure our success by really helping these companies get where they need to go and in the time frame that they need to get there.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. And you mentioned there about the opportunity and about the market and about everything that's kind of working. And what I got to say is, working in the industry, for the industry rather at the moment, everywhere you look, it's large molecules, vaccines, viral vectors, gene therapy, biologics, and small molecule market is doing incredible things at the moment. Recro are doing brilliant things as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about the market and how you see it at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I get this question a lot. My career has gone sort of backwards in evolution, if you will. I started in gene therapy and made my way through biologics, and now I'm in oral solid dose. And that sounds a little counterintuitive, but Alessandro, you're too young to have this problem, but I would encourage you to go to somebody's medicine cabinet and pull open the door behind the mirror and tell me how many biologics you see in that house. Hint, they're all oral solid doses. It's the largest market space. It is, of course, it's not the fastest growing because it's so large, and so by as a percentage, that's just numerators and denominators. But it's extremely important. When I walk or drive or anything else and look from my left to my right, those people are all dependent on oral solid dose sorts of solutions to improve their lives. And for the past several years, there have been more new drugs approved by the FDA in the U.S. that are small molecules than anything else. And now the money of innovation and evolution is certainly more publicized on the other spaces, but Recro's whole legacy is taking solid doses and improving them so that we have modified release, extended release. And so you imagine somebody take Ritalin for ADHD. There was a time where most students, and it still happens, children take who have been diagnosed with ADHD, they're taking a pill in the morning, and then they're having to walk to the nurse's office at lunchtime and take their second pill. We have designed and produce an extended release version of Ritalin so that a child can take one pill at their home in the morning, and then they're done for the day. That's a big upgrade in life.
Wow.
Right? So I could go on and on with those examples, but I think you understand with me the importance of small molecules in everybody's lives on a daily basis.
Oh, 100%. And the work that you guys are doing for your patients and everything like that is absolutely incredible. So thank you for everything. And I guess as well, speaking about the industry as a whole, about the pharmaceutical space, about the CDMO space, what are some of the most exciting changes that you see that are coming into the pharmaceutical space as a whole? And in that, the sorts of challenges as well. And you mentioned you've literally seen it all, from gene therapy, biologics, all dosage forms, everything.
Well, I think there's two ways to look at changes in pharma manufacturing, right? One of them is we sequenced the human genome several years ago, and we're, quite frankly, the industry is in the now what, so what phase, or I should say the so what, now what phase. There's all kinds of work now that has to be done to understand how to really direct and harness that knowledge towards solutions, and it's happening. But personalized medicine is going to be more and more an experience that patients are going to be able to have, understanding of genetic diseases, orphan indications. And from a manufacturing point of view, that means smaller batches. It means more agile manufacturing capabilities. So these big vessels of repeat, churn of the same sorts of projects, that's going to remain an important part of the CDMO space, but it's going to be less important. And quite frankly, CDMOs who are smaller in size, more nimble, more agile, more creative, they're going to benefit from this trend towards smaller batches and more, if you will, bespoke solutions that are around patients. The other thing, though, that I think is just as interesting is, and I talked about us shifting from vendor to partner, and it's real. Now companies are saying, hey, look, we've got a platform of, or a portfolio of assets that we are going to develop. We don't know which ones are going to succeed and how fast. We may be running across 5, 6 different disease indications, but we can't say I need this project made by this, but we can say that over the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to need something made. And so there are these innovative models being created, and we're trying to lean into understanding how we might provide solutions like this as well, where they're just reserving capacity to be determined at a later date. So, in airplane analogy, you're prepaying for seats on flights that you don't know when you're taking, versus 8:13 a.m. from this city to this city on Wednesday, and that's a very different way of thinking about things, right? And so the level of trust and the level of the depth of relationship between CDMO and innovator will get deeper and deeper as those sorts of relationships continue to evolve.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. And something I'm so interested to talk to you about in particular is leadership as a whole. And I noticed something. Me and you had a Zoom call beforehand a couple of weeks ago, and you had your team on there and stuff like that. And what I noticed was that they were laughing and joking with you, and stuff like that. And I've had similar situations before where people can be maybe hesitant to say anything, but you were quite happy to almost have the mickey taken out of you at times about certain things, which got me thinking afterwards, honestly, about leadership as a whole and your style. But what do you think are the secrets to good leadership, and how do you define success in that area?
Well, I mean, first of all, the golden rule, right? I mean, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I don't view myself different at all from another colleague other than the role I have. And so certainly we take what we do seriously, but I certainly don't take myself very seriously. And I talked about the V word. Now I'll say the F word. We're supposed to be having fun here, right? This is a rewarding career that we're blessed to be able to do, and for us not to enjoy it is criminal. But look, to me, good leadership is focusing on those people. I like to say that a lot of times people can imagine what's around the corner for them. My job's to imagine what's around the next 3 corners for them, and to be able to see things about them that they can't see yet because they're too close to it. And then, look, the most fulfilling thing for me is to see somebody get somewhere that I had said, you could do this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, no way, I'm not qualified, I'm not this, I'm like that. And then suddenly you look up a couple years later, they come back and say, how in the world did you know that? And so that's very rewarding for me. And people have helped me along the way, giving me chances that I didn't, quote, deserve. And I'm an empowerment guy, I'm a trust guy, and I'm a verify guy in terms of trust and verify. But I'm far more inclined to empower people and get their opinion. And I really believe in the principles of servant leadership and sort of taking that pyramid, turning it upside down, and drawing no distinction between the shop floor, the warehouse, the forklift operator, and myself in terms of being important to our customers and to the patients that we ultimately serve.
That's absolutely amazing. And something else I'm interested in is, obviously, since you've joined Recro as a CEO, to create that atmosphere, which I felt on that Zoom call with your team, and already have that when you probably haven't met a lot of them in person yet. So how would you manage to do that all remotely? Has it just been multiple Zoom calls? Has it been getting to know everyone? Have you gone to the sites? How have you done it?
So early on, well, first of all, I had some meet the leadership team stuff with me. I did town halls for everybody in the organization, 4 of them. Every other Friday, I make a video called Enloe's Every Other Friday Message. Sometimes it's Happy Valentine's Day, take your significant other somewhere and go have fun this weekend. Sometimes it's let's talk about diversity and inclusion. So it may differ in terms of severity. That's not the right word, but gravity.
Yeah.
But I do want to be in their office, and their office is their mailbox, at least every other Friday. And when I did go to the facility and walk around masked up, I mean, first of all, the whole company's not there, so I couldn't meet them anyway, right? But the people I did get to meet, there was already some level of familiarity based on those sorts of efforts that we've been able to accomplish there. And then, quite frankly, Alessandro, I've joined some teams calls that I didn't need to join, but I wanted to join. I mean, some trainings and some sort of self-betterment seminar type stuff that I joined and participated in, just as a way to get to know people more. And hey, you can't fake caring about people for long, and it's clearly something important to me. And it has made COVID challenging, but we've figured out a way to get there. And I was just at the facility last week and plan to go back as soon as I can. And so it's working out.
Absolutely love it. And you mentioned about the caring for people part, which is absolutely massive. And I guess the shame of it is, with you being the president and the CEO of Recro right now, there are plenty of CEOs and presidents of organizations, even in the pharmaceutical space, even in the CDMO space, which is an area which is all about caring for people. Most people join this industry in order to save lives, who get to the top to CEO by being aggressive, by walking over people. So just great to hear that that's a style that you have, and judging by the call that I have with your team and stuff like that, really, really clear. And on that note, I want to ask you one final question, David, which is, what piece of advice would you give to other business leaders right now looking to optimize their response during this crisis?
Yeah, I saw this question that you sent me earlier this couple days ago. My initial response to that is, it's not a crisis anymore.
It isn't.
I mean, this is the new normal, and it's not even new. I mean, think about how fast change happens across all sorts of technology platforms. And we've been in this now a year, and a year is a long time now. So, this is acceptable. There are a lot. Now, look, there's been a lot of tragic experiences that people have had, and I don't discount that at all. But from a business perspective, we no longer have to hire the most qualified person for the job who can drive to the office and therefore lives in a 30-mile vicinity of our operation. We can hire the best person anywhere. And I couldn't have had this job a year and a half ago, living in San Diego. Would have had to have moved. And so we have to accept that we need to quit talking about the crisis, and we need to start talking about our business, and we need to improve our business based on the circumstances that we have. So I think that's actually the best advice. That response to the question is probably my best advice to a business leader is, quit belly aching about the crisis and start growing your business.
Absolutely love it. And I actually looked at that question the same way that you did. And it's kind of, we're not in a crisis anymore. I'm looking at the UK as well, where I think we're over 50% of the population has now had the first dose of the vaccine. Everyone who could be deemed as vulnerable has had both doses, which is seeming positive, and it's now just waiting for other areas just to catch up. I know the US is doing a great job, but it has changed business forever, and I couldn't agree more with what you said. So, David, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Mantell Associates Network. Thank you so much for going through everything and going into detail about yourself in regards to your position and Recro. Pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Okay, thanks. I enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
Have a good day.
Thank you.